Okay, hello. For those of you who are online and those of you who are live streaming, those of you who are watching this recording, welcome. This is the inaugural event of the Agentics Foundation South Florida chapter. And we're going to go ahead and get started here. All right. So what we're going to go through here today, I'm one of your hosts, one of the ambassadors of the chapter. My name is Mark Allen, and I'm going to provide the introduction. Here I'm going to say a few things about the Agentics Foundation, about Agentic Engineering, about some of the RuveNet projects, which are an incredibly rich source of open source software that a lot of us are using very productively. So then we're going to jump into several showcases. We're going to spend most of the time actually on showcases today, just sharing what is possible with this technology. And I'm going to skip the basic training on Ruflo because it seems that pretty much everyone here knows that. We're going to share some resources though for the foundation. We'll actually, for those that link, we'll link to some other basic training, I realize, just for those that watch this recording. But we're going to spend a lot of time on Showcase. I think we have a lot to learn if you've been using the technology on how others are using it. Okay, and then we're going to talk about some closings and next steps. Okay, so the Agentics Foundation, pretty incredible place here with the rise of AI technologies. This is a foundation, a nonprofit organization that is helping us to lift up one another. This technology is changing so fast that it is much faster than even standard courseware can keep up with. Certainly any universities can keep up with. So the idea is let's create an organization that is like a guild that allows us to teach one another. That's the idea of it. Now, we all have a perspective in this Agentics Foundation that AI is the most powerful technology ever. It's a technology that can be used for many purposes, good or bad. And we are teaching how to use it for good, how to create prosperity, how to create abundance, how to create win-win. So the Agentics Foundation was founded by Reuven Cohen. So pretty amazing guy, Ruve, who has been the primary developer on many of the open source projects that we're going to share and that we use day to day. So I wanted to just say a couple of things about Ruve. The number one is that he is, in the last week, the #1 trending developer in all of GitHub. So this is ahead of everybody, the OpenClaw developer, anybody else, different agent skills, whatever it is, all of the developers, he is #1. Okay, so also he happens to have the #2 of the last week project. And if you look over several weeks, several of his projects have been top projects trending in GitHub. So we're going to spend a lot of time today talking about Ruflo, also Ruvector, and highlighting some of the other projects like Cognitum and Review. Okay. So other thing that I want to say about Ruve, so, some of this software that Ruve has created, it is way ahead of some of what the AI labs are putting out. And he gives it away for free. So why free? Because he wants to make sure that all of us have access to this technology, not just rich corporations. And that's key to who he is. So he's also filed more patents than Thomas Edison, and super prolific inventor. And we spent a lot of time learning from him about how to create technology and how to create really good technology. So we're going to share a lot of that with everybody in this chapter. So what is Agentics? So relatively new term, Agentics. So field of study focus on design, development, deployment of intelligent, autonomous agents capable of perceptions, reasoning, and action within complex environments. So that's how the Agentics Foundation defines it. And the Agentics Foundation has many effectively paths to impact. And it really began as live vibe coding sessions, actually around the time, I guess, that vibe coding term was defined. Basically coding online, showing projects that were being built, mainly led by Ruv. And then other people started showing their projects. And it's now grown into about 3,000 members and groups that have many, many more followings. And a ton of recorded videos, really a wealth of recorded information. And I think the most valuable thing of all is the open source repos. So a word about who I am. So I am a medical doctor trained as an emergency medicine physician. During my training, got involved in some research in AI. Back in 1997, I started that. At that time, AI was a dirty word. We didn't even use it in what we were talking about. We called it clinical decision support. It was AI to help doctors make better patient care decisions. I ended up quitting my residency to start my first AI company in 2000, which over many years became quite successful. So it expanded outside of clinical decision support into many other markets. It is today one of the most successful deployed AI technologies. Now, it's a different form of AI. It's rules-based AI. It's deterministic, as opposed to this form of generative AI being non-deterministic largely. And it is the AI behind a lot of healthcare claims systems, a lot of banks doing lending systems. So a bunch of things. I sold that company and I got into it after so actually I say a couple of things about myself, which are kind of aligned to Agentics Foundation and why I'm involved in Agentics Foundation. So I became a doctor because I wanted to help people. I realized that being a doctor, you have a scale problem. You can only help people one at a time while you're working. So I got involved in this AI software with the idea that if I could build software, I could help many more people long after I'm gone. And after I sold that company, I kind of went back to the drawing board. It's like, okay, so how do I help as many people on this planet as deeply as possible? And I got into the field of drug development, specifically drugs that target aging. And I spent about 7 years in that, running a pretty high profile company called Alevion that was developing a protein that actually in animals reverses the aging process. Worked quite well. So spent 7 years, $40 million to ultimately have to sell that asset at auction for pennies on the dollar because we weren't able to fund our clinical trials. So sad story, but a huge number of lessons in that. And one of them is that that field, that industry, the issue about that industry is it takes 10 to 15 years to develop a drug to bring it to market. It takes hundreds of millions of dollars to bring a drug to market, and it's highly risky. And so when I left that industry, it was generative AI was just taking off, so 3 years ago. And I jumped back into this field because I realized I want to help people. I want to help as many people as possible, and I want to help them now. That's the difference. So AI gives you this power to help people today, to build an application that can, or teach somebody a skill that literally can change their lives, that can increase the quality of what they produce, can accelerate the time that they produce it. So this really is just a next generation of technology of what we can produce. And this technology is improving exponentially day to day. So if you look at kind of an interesting thing. There's a version of this chart that was interesting in the event that we went to last night. It's a little different thinking, but the way that I explain this, so for all of humanity, our intelligence has been pretty fixed. It's a product of biological evolution. There's nobody on this planet today who's any smarter than Aristotle, than Plato, Socrates, right? Certainly Newton. It's just, we don't evolve our intelligence that fast. You know, yeah, we have better ways of learning, but we're not more intelligent as a species. Now, AI is a little different. So AI has been improving exponentially. It's actually been improving exponentially fundamentally since its invention in the 50s, but its improvement was so slow. It was like the first digital cameras. When Kodak first released Kodak invented the first digital cameras. Kind of a crazy thing to think about. But they were so bad, and it took them so many years that they disregarded the technology. That's how AI was for many years. Now, what's happened very recently is we've hit this crossover point where AI is now all of a sudden smarter than us. So it went from smarter than the average human to smarter than the top humans on the planet, but it's not going to stop there. It's continuing to improve exponentially. So I recognize this in my own field, in medicine. A couple of years ago, it was shown that AI could diagnose complex patients better than doctors. So, you know, the bad news is this is going to change everything. It's going to change every industry. What's really fascinating about this is the inertia of industries, that it's probably taking, while AI today can do most of the work that we do better than us, it's taking a while to impact that change. Now, I'm not a doomsdayist. I don't think that, you know, the bottom's going to fall out of the economy or anything. It could be one of the possible scenarios, but I think more that there is an opportunity here. There's an opportunity to create many new businesses, many new services, many new product lines by using AI. And right now is the time where most of the world's still not using it. And so if you use it, it's like you having superpowers. It's like Superman coming to Earth. That's what it is. It gives you enormous power. Power defined as the speed to which I can go from my idea to actually the execution, the reality of that idea. Incredible powers. So I'm going to actually, I should skip this because I think most of us know the difference between AI models and harnesses. So
you can do a quick version.
Do a quick version. Okay, I'll do a quick version. Okay, so the AI model. This is core. I'm talking about the generative AI models, originally called LLMs, large language models, because they could only handle language initially. Now, a lot of them can handle more than language. They can handle images, several of them, videos, several of them, you know, both read images, they can handle audio. So they call them foundation models, or just models for short. Okay, so this model is the core invention that all of this really crossed over that human intelligence. And models are super, super powerful on their own, but they do have limitations. We're actually going to get to the limitations. So one of the limitations of the model is that it has no ability to learn and no memory on its own. So you send a request to the model itself, it sends back a response. If you send a next request to the model, if you say, send a request to the model, my name is Mark. Model says, hi, Mark. You send the next request. What's my name? The model will say, I have no idea. Okay, this model has zero memory. The model has no ability to learn. Okay, by the time you get it in your hands, it's 6 months out of date. Several of the models are out there, the leading models, GPT 5.5, Opus 4.7, they're at least 6 months out of date. And they have no ability to learn. Okay, so huge problems with those models. Now, when you package them into a harness, with a harness, and you build an agent out of them, which is effectively a model and a bunch of tools in a loop, that the harness is everything other than the model. You think about that. In an agent, you can simulate that it actually has memory. How do you do that? Well, you say, my name is Mark. It says, hi, Mark. Your next response is, what is my name? But you give it the rest of the dialogue. Okay, so that's what the agent does. A very, very similar, simple example of an agent. And you get much more sophisticated in agents. So higher level than agents is agentic orchestration. So it's many agents working together to provide long-running tasks. So the simple way to think about an agent is a model and tools in a loop. So again, think about everything other than model we call a harness. Okay, and a single agent is the model and tools in a loop. So you send a request, and an orchestrator effectively manages and sends your request to the model and says, here are the tools that are available to you. The model then says, use this tool to go out and search the web to help to solve them. The model is the one, the intelligence, the decision making. Okay, and the harness, the rest of the agent, will manage the use of those tools. When the response comes back from the tool, feed it to the model. The model decides what to do next, and it'll loop through that until the model says, we have met the goals of the user, request of the user. Send the response back. Okay. Now, when I do a lot of teaching of AI, and I talk about these 4 levels of mastery of AI. So the first skill to master is prompt engineering. How do you talk to the AI? We're going to skip that here today. Second one is context engineering. Okay, so context engineering is what's all the other data other than the prompt itself that I'm going to feed into the AI, and what else might the AI connect to grab additional data that it's going to make its decision based upon. That can get quite sophisticated. And the next level is agentic engineering. It's actually building the agents, okay, that will use the user's prompts, the user's context to solve increasingly complex tasks. And then the highest level, really today, is agentic orchestration itself. So using many pre-built agents to solve long-running tasks. So this concept of agentic engineering and orchestration. So there's a reality of this in one of the core tools that we all use in the Agentics Foundation called Ruflo, that has 100 pre-built agents in it that are effectively focused on software development. So everything about software development. And these are agents that are meant to be top 1% in the tasks of software development. They're dynamically assembled and orchestrated by specialized AI agents that understand what those agents do and will solve your long-running tasks for you. And they can work autonomously on very complex tasks. They have really key a shared self-learning memory, and they have been able to operate, for examples of them, for really long running. Now, it's kind of amazing. I think for those of you who are here, I think my record of running was a while ago when it took a lot longer to run. I maybe had one run, a swarm run for like 8 hours. But recently, with the speed of the new models, I don't think I've had anything run more than about 4 hours. Like it's pretty wild. So we were able to solve incredibly complex tasks that take humans weeks or months to do in just a few hours with swarms of agents. So they're, in some ways, an agent is doing a task of a human, right? And so, but the agent is so much faster. It's like a calculator is so much faster than a human doing that calculation. That's basically what these are. They're hundreds of times faster than we are, and they're going to keep getting faster and faster. So one of the things that we talk a lot about is the difference between vibe coding and agentic engineering. And this is, in this foundation is where I learned agentic engineering. And it's a relatively new term, but vibe coding was a term that I learned about beforehand. Vibe coding is effectively, now you say to an AI, build me this website, build me this web page, build me this Excel spreadsheet, right? That's what vibe coding is. Build it and it will build it. And the AI is getting increasingly good to be able to do that. Okay, the issue is a lot of times with anything complex, what it builds you might look good, but you blow on it and it falls over like a house of cards. So there's still value in vibe coding. Well, come on and join us. Welcome. So still a huge amount of value in vibe coding. It's a very fast way to prototype, and in some things, if it's a simple enough task, you can actually get the job done with pure vibe coding. Now, agentic engineering is another end of the spectrum where you're, and the best analogy I can use here is building a house. Okay, so this beautiful house, I could sit down with a construction company. I could just say to him, build me a house that has 4 bedrooms, nice view, and a pool. Okay, and they'll build it, but I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to get. And it may not last very many years. Okay, I can take a totally different approach where I can sit down with an engineer, a structural engineer, an architect, design those plans, have super solid plans. I sign off on those plans, then I build it. In almost all instances, you're going to end up with something that is a lot better, that's going to last the test of time and is a lot closer to what you want. And in that process of engineering your house, you're going to uncover all kinds of different issues. Okay, so what kind of kitchen would you like? How many bathrooms? What kind of bathroom? How would you like to organize the flow of movement? Okay, so a lot of decisions come out in agentic engineering. Now, agentic engineering takes a lot more time. Okay, the build by the AI is often way faster with agentic engineering than it is with vibe coding. And certainly the ability to fix errors is way better. What you end up with is way more solid. Okay, but the planning takes a lot longer with agentic engineering. Now, there's kind of a really interesting middle ground that I really like to play in that I call vibe engineering. And vibe engineering is basically following the process of agentic engineering where you create all those documents, but you have AI create all those documents. Maybe you don't read them all. Maybe you just read the executive summary. But at least you're following a process. You're going to get something way, way, way better. And by the way, that takes the same amount of time as vibe coding to actually start your implementation almost. But what you get is something much more solid. So just a few concepts to share. So one of the other concepts I want to share is that we do a lot of inside of Ruflo is this different types of agentic orchestration. So we have 2 main types, the agent swarm and the hive mind. They're actually both forms of swarms. And swarms are a bunch of agents that are working together to solve your task. And so the way that I think about these is the swarm is really good for implementation. So you've got the plans and you now need to get the job done. And a swarm will separate your task into what front-end developers do, what your back-end developers do, what your middleware does, have them do their tasks, then pass it to QA engineers that do the QA, and all agents that perform these tasks, and so forth. So that's the way that an agent swarm works. A hive mind is a little different. And a hive mind is a collective intelligence that's really good for research purposes and has many different agents that share a collective memory and argue with one another, debate with one another, and try to find a single source of truth to come back with. So they're both very, very valuable. Okay, so a couple things that I want to share. The two main technologies that you're going to see used, and actually we're going to talk about a couple of others in some of the showcases, but a couple that I'm going to talk about now. So first of all, actually before what's even on this slide, is Ruflo. So what is Ruflo? So Ruflo used to be called Claudeflow. It is an agentic orchestration platform. So it is, I think, certainly the first that I found out about agentic orchestration platform. So it comes with 100 plus pre-built agents, a ton of pre-built skills, dozens of pre-built skills, many hooks for those. It's all built on Claude code. So I'm using, some of these are concepts of implemented in Claude code. Some are implemented in some of the other coding harnesses. But so it's built on top of Claude code. And that is special that it has those pre-built agents, but the most special thing about it is these AI orchestration agents that can dynamically assemble all of those agents to achieve your long-running task. So I talked about what an agent is. An agent itself can achieve a long-running task through models and tools in a loop. Agentic orchestration can achieve a much more complex long-running task by orchestrating many AI agents together. So that's the core of Ruflo and what it was for a while. And then Ruflo also added into it another project, which is called Ruvector. And Ruvector is actually much bigger. It's components of the Ruvector repo, open source repo, are in Ruflo, but not all of it. Okay, so I'm going to talk about kind of one key thing about Ruvector. So Ruvector, I love this technology. It's amazing. It's another form of AI that is complementary to an LLM and a model. Okay, so it solves a few problems. So let's talk about what the problem is of the model itself. So the model, while it is that today's state-of-the-art models are top 1% intelligence across every field, right? Incredibly smart. They keep getting smarter with every release. But the moment that they're trained, and they come out of training, they don't learn anymore. Okay, so you can't teach them anymore. The model itself, it has a knowledge-based cutoff. You can actually ask the models what their knowledge-based cutoffs are, and they're 6 months to 12 months old. And that is an issue. It knows nothing about you. Okay, it knows nothing about what happened between its knowledge-based cutoff and today. Now, in the agent itself, it has tools like web search that are available to it. So it can use web search to go out and hit the web, but it doesn't have that effectively in its brain. In its brain is everything prior to its knowledge-based cutoff that it can answer you instantly. Okay? It doesn't even know anything about the time between the knowledge-based cutoff and today. It doesn't even know that that exists, the model itself. So you have to tell the model, hey, this is new information, go and search the web. And when it searches the web, it takes time to find what it's going to find. So that's one issue. Number two is that it doesn't have any information about your business. Okay, so all that, it doesn't have that data, okay, number one. So it can't learn, can't create new memories on its own. But number two is it can't learn from its interactions itself. So now you're going to say, oh, my ChatGPT, my Claude has memories. It gets better as I learn. Well, that's not because of the model. That's because of features that they've added in their harness, so in their agentic system, that is features kind of like what Ruvector is. Now, you don't have access to those features, but Ruvector you have access to. So what Ruvector is it is a specialized knowledge base / knowledge engine. Okay, kind of a form of a database. So it's a combination, if those of you know some of these technologies, of a vector database, which is really good at semantic similarity search. So a graph database, which is really good at relationship traversals, and a graph neural network, okay, which it has an ability to learn. And so Ruvector allows you to put your proprietary information in, and it stores it in a math that is super efficient at processing and identifying any documents in it. And the math itself, you can't talk to, right? Ruvector, you can't talk to as a math, but use the LLM as effectively your language translator that can talk to that math. And now the combination of the two act as a form of a superintelligence that now can have all the information about your business, all the information specialists about your industry. You can actually feed it data, live streaming if you want. Okay, incredibly powerful and incredibly efficient. So it's super compressed information because it's in this form of a math, and super fast. So you're going to see some examples in the showcase of Ruvector being used. So that's what I wanted to show. And what I want to do is introduce some of our other folks here. So the first one are our other ambassadors of the chapter. So before I do that, I wanted to say we have actually a special guest here who is one of the founders of the Agentics Foundation, Nick Roost. You want to come say a couple words? And I would love to hear. We can. You can either stand in front of this if you wanted to share something.
I might just share something.
Okay. Fantastic.
Okay. It was a wonderful introduction. Very nice of Mark. So I'm going to show something that I've been working on, which, now bear with me, I'm just on the single screen today. It's actually a course builder. So one of the things that we're trying to do at the foundation is we're trying to
Maybe if you share the screen.
I think it is, isn't it?
That's not. Oh, it is. Yeah.
Okay, good. It's better be certain, right? So one of the things is there's a capacity challenge around building courses, but we need these courses, right? And a lot of people, when I was asking them like, oh, do you want to build a course? And people were sort of hesitating not because they didn't want to do the work, because they're saying, hey, but what happens when this stuff's outdated in a week, And which is a valid claim, and everyone's saying the same thing. And I'm like, well, I can't ignore it if everybody's saying the same thing. So I was like, well, what if we had a world where we could turn out really high quality courses on the fly at the speed of Reuven changing, subquadratic this and that this week and so on, and to be able to flick that switch and have it, but also to be like a Mark avatar, for example, or a Nick avatar, or a Brad avatar, Brad Ross, right? Or a Reuven avatar for the harder stuff, right? And so I haven't quite gotten it that far, but I have gotten to the level of the generic canned HeyGen presenters being fairly coherent. So basically all you'd have to do is you would just give that. So I'm going to use Ruflo. I obviously so often have it open, right? Create I'm just going to say, create a course on Ruflo. I'm going to be a little bit budget conscious on this one. So I'm going to say, make sure the HeyGen API bill is under $12. Here's the link. All right, I'm gonna say make sure you create at least 4 sections and a quiz. So this is kind of part of it. So this thing's gonna cook and it's gonna make the course, and we're just gonna chat while it's doing its thing, right? And so what I did was, for this, it was like a pretty simple build. Like, it really wasn't one of the more challenging things, you know. I created some ADRs. You can see it's like a smaller project, 8 ADRs. So what I did was, initially, I said, okay, here's my idea. I want to build this, write the ADRs and DDDs to make this happen. And then it did that, right? And then I said, okay, now I want you to write some implementation prompts. And I haven't necessarily been doing this more. This was about a month or 2 ago. My process is always evolving. But what was working for me around the time we were in Vermont at Mark's place and stuff like that is, I would tell it, say, okay, great. So now I've got all the ADRs and DDDs. Now I want you to give me implementation prompts that marry some of these different ADRs and DDDs in different sections of the build, as opposed to just generically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I found that there's a lack of coherence at time with that kind of build. So it's like, okay, now you're going to use, part of this ADR and part of this DDD for this part and that part and whatever. And I just grab this, like, okay, this is actually number 4 and number 3. So this is actually the second prompt, yet we're using the 4th ADR here. So, because sometimes what happens is, I find when you go in sequential order with these ADRs, is there'll be a lack of continuity, or there's a part of the project that needs to be built before a different part is built, and that there's an issue around that, right? So this basically just cooked. There was no I'm gonna tell it, oh, it's not seeing.
Being like the first pen for, like certain projects sort of follow a pattern, so that first, 5 or 10 ADRs basically follow the same pattern.
You can, right?
Yeah.
You can do it that way for sure. I just let it do its thing, but I definitely toyed around with that.
Some implementation, but 20 or 40 or even 100, so that the frameworks that I'm using that have ADRs, they don't overlap. Like,
Nice.
putting them in different sequences. I've even thought about going up to like 1,000 or 10,000 or whatever for that, so that there's plenty of space, because I figure out we're going to do the same thing.
Go up to 1,000 ADRs.
Yeah, I mean, if a framework has 100 ADRs, and like, I've got a couple different frameworks, and they all have ADRs,
Yeah.
and I have ADRs, and I teach it,
Yeah.
right? Like, at that point, that, like, if I don't keep them separated, they're gonna be ADR three, which, and you're back to the same house.
Yeah.
So you gotta mix, Nick is gonna make big index, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I've been doing it. It seems like me, or feedbacks, that's not the way I've been doing it.
What's that?
Just put feedbacks on.
Oh, pretty good. Yeah, absolutely.
It's all done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay,
I do a similar approach to what you're doing, Nick. I create a separate implementation guide, I call it,
Mhm.
that I ask it to think through now the sequence of implementing my ADR.
Mhm.
What can I implement that require serial sequencing? What can be implemented in parallel? Some of the parallel implementation for some complex projects, you can also, some of the things that I've been doing is doing them as Git work trees
Mm-hmm.
in parallel.
Yeah.
And
then I mean, average all that down, which
yeah,
has its own fun stuff.
yeah, exactly. It takes a little bit of work to do that and make sure that you do that cleanly. But you can have 5, 10 swarms running into different Git work trees and get things done really fast.
With levels of coherence that you just can't get off the cuff you have to set that up. That's really what it is.
Think it through.
It's really what it is, right? That's the key.
Yeah.
It's not like, can you get the stuff to work? It's, can you get it to work within these certain parameter structures? And it's key. So this, I just added this, I was using ENV until I was just sitting at the table, and I added it to GitHub Actions, and for some reason it's not recognizing it. So I'm just going to show it without the video for now. But it's this thing's good. Like it'll cook a pretty good course in about 10 minutes. Let's see.
How did you teach it about Ruflo in this case?
So I just told it to look at the repo. So it's actually trained to create courses based on a link that you give it, specifically GitHub repo. But you could also feed it some random Harvard Business Review AI paper or something, and it would create a course on that. So it'll
Or I assume you could go like a corpus locally, like using research agents,
something like that.
and then build a course based on that,
Yeah,
or courses.
right.
even in
It
some
could.
cases,
It could.
right?
Yeah,
And then we
Ruvector,
keep the
for
corpus
example.
up to date, and then be generating courses out of it as things change.
Yeah, it could be phase 2 is something that, CI/CD, it's always running or something like that, right?
This things change everything.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the underlying problem. That's the pain point, is that, like, how can you train somebody about something that is different today than yesterday? And
I deal with that all the time, doing a lot of training. I will update the course effectively the day before, the day of.
or joining the course in some terms, probably.
Join the course.
Yeah, when you're doing it, like, if you know it's wrong, you're not just gonna run through it wrong.
Yeah, I
You'll
know
let
that.
it
Always, yeah.
On the
I'm
spot.
using AI to do all that.
Yeah.
It's possible to do it.
Yeah, right.
So this is it, like 5 minutes. And it didn't do the video because like I said, I just switched it into GitHub Actions. For some reason, it's not reading that. It's still trying to read the local ENV, which I've been using for most of it. So where this like Dr. Ada, I don't know where this Dr. Ada came from. But it would have the video populated in that section in the top left. So there's inevitably a little bit of cleanup that's required with these courses, but generally speaking, they're pretty good. Like they go into pretty good amount of detail. And so there'd be, again, like there would be a video here for this, what is kind of thing. So there's a bit of massaging that needs to be done here, of course, but and maybe I might have given it a bit better prompt, like, if you're going to use technical jargon, you got to precede it with some sort of for human, like stuff like that. So it would go through that, but I wanted to make sure and just show you guys it's sort of cooking. But it's like the interface is pretty good. We got 12 sections, 12 activities, and some 12 questions here. But the real piece that we're working on now, myself and Craftsman are working on it. Rishabh out of Bangalore is, there in these courses that are created, there's activities, but then, well, how do we know that, like, I didn't just get Stuart to do it for me because he's doing such a great job, like how would I, it's kind of hard to tell, right? Like, but this way we're actually going to have something that it's in place where people can take a live, take a crack at this with all your tools and expertise that you have. Use beads, use Claude Code, use Codex, whatever it is. You're going to have, 2-3 hours or whatever it is to get as far with this problem as you can. And, we'll be able to evaluate that. And
So a human's gonna evaluate the project? You're saying have them do a project?
human will do the project with AI, but our system will do the evaluation. Yeah, but just in a little bit more of a closed fashion than, here's a repo, I swear I did it, we got to kind of close that gap a little bit because that ties into the job board that we're dealing with, right? Certifying people, and this is getting into like Dave's lane a little bit, right? But for someone like Dave, it'd be really nice for him to know, like, can this person actually do this work, or does it just kind of look like they can?
Yep.
We need to verify that and have some have some support in that area. So let's see what it's going to do here. Let's see if it's going to run or not. Usually, well, you said about this drug that you were bringing to market. Of course, of course, of course. Yeah, of course, it's not going to work. So the yeah, I was gonna run it. I was gonna run it over there on my own privately, and the market, gave me such a nice introduction. I was like, oh well, we're gonna see if there's gonna be some bugs.
That's what it's real.
Yeah, that's right.
You had a chance to use it to create the class.
Yeah, it's just creating the first few. I want to, you saw a little bit here, the just some of this broken language around. You'll see it a little bit here. Some of, oh, okay, now it looks good in most places, but there's like this,
Yeah.
like this kind of junk. Like I gotta kind of clean some of that up. But other than that, like just get it to work a little bit better. Oh,
Oh. Sorry.
oh, that's
I was. Yeah. Yep, sure.
oh, just like this kind of junk here. Like clean this up, like this, make it a little more coherent. Right now it's kind of pulling out random material. Some of it's good, some of it's not, So I just need to sort of improve what it actually does.
So it's also, there's so much stuff in the repo that it's drawing from that repo. There's old stuff in the repo, it doesn't know. That's a hard, it takes a very hard thing to teach from a repo.
Yeah, well, it's that, correct. Not easy to, somebody to,
From the repo, yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard, but that's what I wanted to be able to do, right? Hey, just like give it a repo. Hey, teach this, or maybe, teaching more of a slug in the repo or something, like maybe that might make it perform a little bit better, a little bit more focused. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this to run right now, but it's really cool.
where would you take it? So,
That course,
yeah.
the course creation.
Or where would you take the course creation? Based on what it gave you, where would you go next with it to ensure that its next rev, whether it's this one or any other repo, make sure it does A, B, and C?
I would start to either put in some, like, again, this would be, it's great, right? Like let's ask Claude, right? But basically, I explain to it what it is, as opposed to being like, I have all the answers. It's like, what I could do exactly what you just said. Like, I needed to do this, and this. Like, write me a series of ADRs or a single ADR that will get that to happen. Like, how do you suggest I do that? Like, or maybe ask first, don't write the ADR yet. Just like, let's talk about it and see what makes sense. And then I would get it to, they would say, oh, which option do you like? Here's the pros and cons. And then I would choose one. And then write me an ADR. Then I would, use the Rubin's magic implementation prompt, the testing and looping and optimize and blah, 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 blah. And then it just, and yeah. And it wasn't always that easy. Like, even a couple months ago before I grabbed that prompt from him, it was like I was wrestling a lot more, and then I was like, wow, what, simple
You can
thing.
actually do it with this simple short prompt.
Yeah, yeah, and it just works, right? So anyway, I'll pass the torch there, but if I get this running, I'll show you guys, but it's
Cool.
pretty cool.
So, let me make the next intro here.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So we have the next gentleman here, one of our ambassadors of the South Florida chapter. A lot of these, actually all the ambassadors of the South Florida chapter are dear friends. It's a really nice community here. And Stu is a very successful entrepreneur, has been CEO of multiple companies, including public companies. and came up through the sales world, not a technical background, but he builds incredible technical things. He's always using the latest, greatest technology. Sometimes he's like the first people other than Ruve that's taking his projects and actually building things from them. He's absolutely fearless in doing that. And, sometimes has been known to work all night long, getting some of this technology to work. And, for a guy that has no technical background, it's super impressive for me to see. So I credit Stuart as like one of the people that even got me into really doing AI development. Like there was a time when we first started doing this where it was really hard, wasn't easy. It's gotten a lot easier to do. So with that, we're going to pass the torch to Stu to do his showcase.
All right. And you want to mute yours? There we go. Mark, thanks so much. Hi, everyone. I'm Stuart Kerr. I'm going to do a quick share right here and just share my desktop and bring that up, and we can jump into this. So, as Mark has said, there's a lot to this. There's a lot to getting this stuff working. There's a lot to figuring out all of the agentics world. And the short answer is none of us know it all. And the whole reason for these get-togethers is because every week we're doing something brand new. Most of us are alone when we're doing it. We're yelling at our computer. We're asking why it doesn't work right? And part of the reason for this foundation is just to have other people you can talk to and say, does it do that to you? Yeah, good. I thought it was just me, right? And that's part of the whole equation of what we're trying to build here is us all coming together. So when I'm not doing this, when I'm not doing AI research and playing with new tools, kind of 70, 80 hours a week, we're doing AI strategy consulting for businesses, kind of small or large. The other passion is run a group of folks that are training 7,000 women in Asia in 9 countries on how to use AI. They're all university women. We want them when they graduate to have better tools, better skills. Very interesting perspective that gives you about how other cultures see AI, how we see it, what we do with it. The fear factor that they have as university students about, do I learn to code now? What is that going to mean? Are there going to be jobs for me when I graduate? All of that, right? And so I go through a lot of that, and it forces me to kind of ask the question to dovetail on the great work, right? Mark does a lot of agentic teaching. He does a lot of AI education for people that are AI educated folks already, and a lot of folks who are not. They're other professionals in other worlds, and they just want to understand AI. They want to figure it out. And there's a lot to do to figure that out. And so we spend a lot of time at kind of opposite ends of the spectrum, only because what Mark's doing is trying to translate that information back to something that people can use and leverage and understand and work with. And I'm at the other bloody end going, hey, this came out an hour ago. What can we do with this? Right? Which means I spend a lot of time dealing with the AI that doesn't do the things that we're used to seeing. I spend very little time in ChatGPT, asking it simple questions with text in and text out, because that's not really interesting to me. So one of the questions that we've gotten into is this question of what happens when the AI has to come back to real life? What happens when the AI has to insert itself into the real world? Because AI is pretty ethereal, right? It's the talking head in the computer. It's not the tool that says, let me tell you what's really happening in your day-to-day. So a really simple question. Mark asked, hey, my name is Mark. Next session, what's my name? I don't know. Well, you know what? Even with great memory, when I tell it, hi, I'm Stuart, remember who I am? When I say, how do I feel today? I'm never going to get a good answer because it has no idea. Why is that? Does it have to have no idea? Well, that's not necessarily true. There are other tools that we can use, that we can leverage, that start to bring AI into the real world. So for today, I just wanted to give you a little bit of a taste on a few different aspects. One of them is going to be an extension of what Mark had shared, which is Ruflo, which and built into Ruvector, which was this wonderful self-learning organizing way of maintaining data, logic, and understanding. And then that started to reach out and say, what if we could talk to the real world? And that led to this thing called Review and something called Cognitum. And I'm just going to give you guys a quick sense of what that is. I got my main man, Matthew, here, who has helped do a lot of stuff because I had no idea how any of this worked. And thanks to Matt, he's going to show us kind of what that is at the end. But this is some of the tools. Now, I have never been a hardware engineer in my life. No way, shape, or form. Oh, come on, you at least know how to solder. They would send me things and I'm like, this requires soldering. It's going back to Amazon. Send me something I don't have to put together with equipment and tools. The idea for that is, how do we figure out how to pull this stuff together in a more interesting and meaningful way? It's not like we haven't had tools. We can capture things mechanically. We have cameras. Cameras have all kinds of privacy nightmares to them, right? You got line of sight. If I'm not in line of sight, it doesn't see me. I've got wearables. I need to remember to wear them, this and that. I've got idle machines. Hey, this thing was never built with a processor in it. I have no idea what it's doing. How can I tell what's happening? And the intention was, Ru built this thing called Ruview. It was a subcomponent of something he built on top of Ruvector. And it basically said, you know what? If you can sense the world and you can feed me the sense, I can make sense of that data and start to tell you things about yourself. Now, I thought I had been on the forefront of AI, had no idea this stuff even existed when he said it, I spent the first 2 weeks going, I'm not even going to try that. It can't possibly work. Something got the better of me. I decided to bring it home, try it out, buy some of these devices, and suddenly you realize there are these little sensors called ESP32s. They're not very expensive. They cost $3 to $15, depending on which kind you get. But when you get them, they have a tendency to read your signals as what happens when somebody walks through space that also happens to have Wi-Fi signal in it. And that does quite a bit for us. One of the things is, if I take the idea of cameras, if I take the idea of wearables, I can sunset a lot of the negative things there by just putting passive sensors out there. And now all of a sudden I have a tool to do something I'd never be able to do before. One crazy example Ruth brought up was, set up these sensors next to a beehive. It can help you figure out if the beehive is healthy. Now, believe it or not, my wife happens to have a couple of beehives that she sponsors in Maine. I'm like, this can't possibly work. I have not had a chance to try this one yet, but it is one of the ones that I'm planning on trying. But your initial thought is, there's no way this can work.
The sound alone. Just a microphone is all you need.
And this is true. There's a lot to it in terms of being able to tell you how healthy it is. The difference is, to me, I always thought we were blind to that. I always thought AI didn't really have any access to that. The fact is that Ruve had come up with this concept called the cognitive seed, which is this guy right here, right? Which is not very large. And all of a sudden, your AI goes from something that lives in your laptop to something that connects to the real world. So I took this, right? Matt's got one as well. I connected it to a whole bunch of these sensors. And now all of a sudden you have the ability to do new and different things. And I'm going to give you kind of one example of that. So there's a lot you can start to do with this concept of Ruvector, which is also stored in these cognitive seeds, with the sensors that are sending data into these cognitive seeds. And the fact that once you get that and start to pull it together, all of a sudden you have an entire world of possibility that enters itself out for you. So one of the firms I work with has a vibrating plate that they use for all kinds of health reasons. And it works really well. It's a phenomenally successful tool. It's been around for decades. Most professional sports teams have them. Wonderful. One problem. How the heck do you know it works? Well, they know it works because they have literally hundreds of medical tests that have been done on it over the last 20 years. But how do you get somebody brand new to know, is it working for me? And that was the project I thought it'd be interesting to kind of take on. How do I tell if this is working? Well, I could plug into the USB port. There's only one problem. There ain't one. These were built as essentially dumb machines, right? They're very good at what they do, but what they do is triplanal hormonal vibration, and they vibrate your entire body in ways that move the muscles and give you muscle activation 50 times a second, does all kinds of really wonderful things for your systems, for your skeletal structure, for your balance, for power, for core, all kinds of stuff. How the heck do you know it works? And that to me was the project. And what I took on was, what happens if I can take the sensors coming in? Could I actually tell that I was even standing on one? So I've got one at home. I put the sensors around it, and with help from a couple of folks here, got to the point where it could actually see me standing on the plate. Now, when I say see me standing on the plate, I used an iPhone up front, and I had the iPhone record me, and I had the iPhone turn on LiDAR and a bunch of other stuff. And then I turned it off. And when you turn off the iPhone, an interesting thing happens. The AI is smart enough to associate all the signals that the iPhone captured with the information it was getting from the sensors. And now it could tell me I'm standing. It could tell me I'm squatting, right? It could tell me I'm on the plate. By the way, the plate's got 6 different levels of vibration. What level was that? Well, I could vibrate it, and it could read the sensors on the plate and know what I was doing and tell me that this plate happens to be vibrating at 40 hertz, right? Therefore, you should be getting a 40 hertz vibration all the way through your body. You're not. What does that mean? That means you're not maintaining muscle strength. It means you're relaxing. And so all of a sudden, I don't need the person to tell me when they got tired. I can tell them when they got tired, right? So you've got somebody who is older, who is looking to use this to maintain stability, balance, right, as an example. Or you could be an elite athlete that's just looking to maintain core strength. This gives you tools and ways to do that. And so in this case, we hooked up these ESP32s. We hooked up the microwave ones, which Matt was good enough to kind of turn me on to, some various different radar. And I even went and said, you know what? I'm going to break the rule here. I'm going to do some contact-based stuff, and I'm going to actually wrap things around my chest. Not a bunch of them. I took one. Why? Because that gave me muscle activation. And muscle activation, when you're sending vibrations up through you, tells you an awful lot about how this thing is doing for you. So that was the concept, right? Take the cognitive seed, hook it up to these devices, hook that up to a dumb machine, make the dumb machine a smart machine. And because of that, I can now tell how I'm doing on that device. Because of that, I can now get a sense for, hey, how's my stability been? Is my stability getting better or worse? By the way, do I have balance asymmetry? Am I cheating on one side and putting 60% of my weight on my right leg instead of my left leg? I shouldn't have that. And it'll help you figure that out. It'll help you do all of the things you need to do to become stronger. And that becomes vitally important, right? One of the great quotes that I pulled out of their own information: balance impairment precedes cognitive decline by 5 to 10 years. The machine gets smarter the longer you use it, turning a workout into long-term health intelligence. And that was the basic, simple premise of, what can I do with this? How can it work with me? And if I do that the right way, this then becomes a tool that turns what was something based on faith into something based on knowledge. So what does that look like in real life? Well, what it looks like in real life is this idea called the power plate progress. Some people are performance oriented. Some people are functional oriented. If you might be older and looking for something functional where you just want to maintain stability and good gait posture, things of that nature, what would you do? Or you might want to focus on muscle activation, right? So when and of course, this gave me the opportunity to say, what are the muscle activations? How are the muscle activations working? What happens when I'm squatting? What happens when I'm standing? What happens when I maintain my stance? What happens when I shift power from my left to my right side, right? Or weight to my left to my right side? What happens with that What are the active regions? How does that work? So when I can put all of that together, I then essentially get a fundamentally different capability. And not only that, but I have the ability to see it for the chest, for the quadriceps, right? That the calves, the forearms, etc. And down here, I can give you an idea of what the activation scale is. I can tell you what the stability is. I can check balance left and right. Right now, you're seeing this statically because I'm not standing at home and it's not picking up all my sensors. The sensors are all right here, right? This would tell you which of those sensors are connected, how they're working, etc. But the nice thing is, outside of the one strap I chose to add to this, there's nothing the user has to know. And as soon as the user steps on that plate, it knows who they are, because that's been mapped to them. It's a progressive web app, so it runs on an iPhone that you can send to them with just a text link. They don't even need to go through the App Store. It comes down, all their information is 100% private to them. None of it goes on the cloud. So they keep all their information. Now, if they want to and they want to share it with the doctor, they can do that as well. The doctor can look at it generally with all the health information taken out if need be, if privacy is a concern. And the organization could even look at it on a nationwide or worldwide basis and see all the different people doing workouts. So that was the premise for what happens when you take the idea of Ruflo and then Ruvector, turn it into Ruview, and actually apply it to a real project. How do we make something that was never meant to be or never designed to be intelligent, without having to spend millions of dollars of redesigning it, redeploying it, and remanufacturing, because they have thousands and hundreds of thousands of these out in the field, and this is how we solve that problem. So that was the premise. In addition to that, we also had the premise of, gosh, we had hundreds of reports from these people, right? We've got hundreds of medical reports. Well, one of the nice things about Ruvector that's very different than using, say, Claude Code is I can take thousands of pages of PDFs and say, figure out how to store all this information. And it did. And once I've got that, I can turn around and say something like, oh, 1 second. I have neuropathy and my left foot tends to fall asleep when I'm walking, and that scares me. Can PowerPlate help me with that? And if so, how? And in doing so, all we did was say, store all of this medical knowledge that we fed you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Okay. Yes, PowerPlate can help with the foot falling asleep and balance confidence when you walk, because vibration retrains your nerves to fire faster and strengthen the small muscles of your lower leg that keep you steady. Here's how it works, and it'll take me through the entire thing. It'll also talk to me like I'm a trainer, like I'm a physical therapist, like I'm a doctor. So basically, one tool can suddenly have a lot of different capabilities, and it can communicate with people in the way they want to be communicated with. The only point is to say that this is an example of Ruflo, Ruvector, Ruview, Cognitive Seed, all pulled into one to give you guys an idea. None of these applications are something you can do easily on ChatGPT. None of these applications are something you can do easily on Claude. They are the things that require the advanced technology base that, as far as I know, Rube's the only guy who's actually been able to put all of that together, right? So I wanted to give you just a flavor for what things look like on that front end of the curve. Okay, so first off.
It's insane. It really, I mean, this is crazy. Like that I was telling Matt, the fact that you even had the vision and audacity that you could do this is amazing. Like, I mean, this is crazy. Like, you see what this is? It's Wi-Fi technology that's sensing biological signals. That's telling the difference between your biological signal. It's sensing how this machine is working. It's sensing your muscles. It's like, this is crazy.
And this is, I think, our future. right? And the fact is, this is just beginning. We are at the front end of the front end of the front end of AI, right? And as a result, the opportunities in AI to change the world going forward start to get pretty unlimited pretty quickly when we take this thing out of the neurons of the net and we make the net the world. And so this becomes something that we can all use. So that was the intention. That was the one thing I wanted to share. That the other thing I wanted to share is it's hard to learn Ruvector. It's hard to learn Ruflo. A lot of us have learned to use it. Ruv's a brilliant guy, but the question we get asked is, how the hell do I use it? Right now, there's two answers to that. The first is Mark is without a doubt one of the best AI trainers worldwide that I know. And he's one of the very few that I would ever refer somebody's class to. But Mark teaches classes on how Ruflo works, how Ruvector works, how Agentic Engineering works, what you need to know, whether you're a business person learning this, whether you're a technologist trying to get into this, all of those things become key. But even without that, there's still the time, Danny, like you know, that we're sitting home alone and it's 1 a.m. and you're like, damn, I got to get this done for my client in the morning, and it doesn't work yet. Right. And so one of the questions that came about is, how do you keep learning when Ruvector keeps changing? So one of the things I wanted to do is use Ruvector to teach people about Ruvector and use Ruvector to teach people about what you could do with all of Ruv stuff. Hi, coming in. And so, how are you? Hi. So the intention here was just to create something called Ask RuvNet. Free tool built using his tools to teach the world about his tools. And it'll teach you everything from searching all the documents, searching all his repos, right? Looking at the entire AI, it's got a bunch of videos on it. You want to see kind of what's in it. Here's the stuff that's stored in it. One of the problems in Ruvector is it trains and teaches things in 384 dimensions, which is great. But I was absolutely not there that day in algebra where they taught you how to think in that many dimensions. So I like to see these things visually. And so that this becomes a tool and a way for me to do that. And that became a way for me to be able to go in and drill down and see what's in it, how do they work, right? How does some of these neuromorphic and advanced capabilities work, and to be able to drill up and down the information so you understand what's there. Why? Because if we understand these things, we basically have some idea to learn where to look for the truth, where to look for the information on it. And I only bring that up because I want you guys to all have a sense that there are resources and tools out there that you can use. There's all kinds of presentations in here. If you wanted to understand why should you bring this in as a CEO, how does it give you alpha as a business? Why should you bring it in as a CTO? Why would you want to train your technologists to learn how to use this? Gosh, maybe you haven't heard of it. Maybe you didn't know Ruv is what he is, but this is where the whole world's going. And if it's where the whole world's going, the trick is we need to get there first, and we need to carve the path, and we need to push it forward. So that was the other piece that I wanted to share. At this point, what I'm going to do is kind of turn it over to Dave. I just wanted to ask if there were any questions kind of before I stop sharing. And
we'll share, by the way, a bunch of these resources like this Ask RuvNet, so you guys have access to them.
All right, I guess I'm sharing next time.
And yes, so yeah, why Dave? Because Dave Fox is an accomplished CEO, also happens to run a company called Focus GTS. He's gonna share that, but
I'm not on mute. I'm not on mute. Oh, you were on mute, Stuart. Yeah. No, I'm on now. People should, yeah, I should be. Hold on, let me double check. 1 second, yeah, I'm on. Okay, cool. How's it going, everyone? So let me just give a little bit of background on me. So I'm Dave Fox. I run a staffing, recruiting, and IT services company. It's about a $15 million company here in Miami. And I had no technical background, although I've been recruiting in the IT space for the last 15 years. So I've been heavily immersed in this space, but not actually doing anything technical. I'm not a hands-on coder. My degree's in finance. So when I started playing around with this, my journey kind of started last August. I was at an event in Amsterdam and I was like, I really need to master this stuff if I want to become an expert and take my business to the next level. I could see where things were going. So I started out with firstmake.com and I was trying to build some agents when I was at this conference and it was taking forever. And then I upgraded to N8N and that built in about a few days, what took me 2 weeks to build with Make. And then I found Replit and I was like, this is really cool. And I started building all sorts of cool stuff in that. And that seemed like a tremendous step up. And then in January, that's when I found out about Claude Code, and Stuart, who you just heard from, he introduced me to Ruflo and Ruvector and this whole ecosystem. So what have I done since January to transform my business, which is up like 60, 70% so far this year with a smaller staff? We've become an Anthropic partner. So I'm getting 10 people in my company certified, which is super exciting. So let me tell you what I built. The first thing that I did was I realized that business is a game of looking at your financial statements at the end of the day, right? The numbers tell the story. So I realized that I needed to figure out a better way to access my financials in natural language. So the first thing I did was I built an MCP server that connected Claude to QuickBooks. And I set up a Harvard educated CFO through which all of my chats would go. So anything I want to know about my company, any advice, it knows everything about the financials, which makes things super easy because I don't have a CFO. I'm a boutique firm. So that was huge. The second thing I did, I was like, okay, so if I can connect Claude to my financials, I can probably connect Claude to my CRM. So then built an MCP where it changed a lot of the game because I've been in sales for the entire time in my career. And one of the things that I realized is that salespeople, especially good salespeople, they tend to neglect entering data into the system. But we live in the AI age where data is the most important thing. It's what feeds everything that we're doing. So I was like, what if I could make it easier on these people? So now they can just talk to the LLM. They can get notes into the system. They can query who they've been talking to. They can do all sorts of stuff just by connecting that to our CRM. Then, so these were the first two projects I did. Then we started really taking it to the next level. And I decided that my company was going to change from just being a staffing and recruiting and services firm into a product firm as well. So my biggest client is Adobe. And I actually use Ruflo to go out and become an expert in everything Adobe, and then start to find areas in which we could build products that would increase our value in the marketplace with the strategy of being able to give them away free to customers as lead magnets, which you could have never done this before because it takes too long to build something. One of the things that we found out is one of the big Adobe systems uses this thing called Cloud Manager. It's a system that manages your website. And when you are putting code into that to get it to deploy, it would take about 45 minutes and have to pass over 100 gate checks to make sure that your code deployed. The problem with that is that many teams would deploy multiple times, find out it fails, try to fix it, find out it fails on something else. So I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. So we went and found all of the Cloud Manager gates that run on this, and we're able to create a tool that does this for free and checks all those Cloud Manager gates in 100 milliseconds. So from 45 minutes to 100 milliseconds, that's a massive win. And we just gave it away free to clients. It's been a tremendous lead magnet for us and been very, very popular since we launched it. Then I was like, hey, marketing is the name of the game in this world that we live in. And it was really, really difficult for me to do anything on my website. I would have to go to this team of like agencies. Whenever I needed anything, then I'd have to jump on a call with them, discuss it with them. Then they would turn it into a web page, and that could take a long time. Same thing with blog posts or anything else that I was adding to that. So we connected the website to Claude Code and built an agentic SEO platform. So now anytime I need to make a change on my website, I can literally talk to it in natural language through Claude Code and have that change up almost instantly, which is amazing. And then it's got on the back end of it, a self-learning SEO agent that literally goes out every single week, looks at where we rank for various keywords. We've since upgraded it so it also looks at LLMs and where you stack in certain LLMs, and it will implement those changes for you on a weekly basis and iterate on it. So you're moving up the Google rankings and you're moving up your LLM rankings, which is amazing. We also transformed one of our main product offerings. We were using a portal for our customers on our service side of the business that was hosted by Jira and Atlassian. We built a 67,000 line of code new portal that has a self-learning agentic database using Ruvector. This is really interesting because I found out yesterday that the average developer writes 2,000 to 10,000 lines of code a year. So we did 67,000 lines of code, and this took about a month and a half to deploy. It's going to be fully deployed on our customers, and I built this all myself, which is wild to think that you can do things that fast. I also built a full-time Adobe research agent that knows every single thing about Adobe. We loaded its K1 into the brain. It knows more about Adobe than Adobe knows about Adobe. And it's constantly 24/7. It's on it. It will message us on Slack with anything relevant, stock prices, movement, all of that stuff, constantly doing it. We built a competitive landscape tool that knows all of our competitors and tracks them at real time, will tell us what they're doing, and will give us strategies to compete with anything that they launch. We also built a CMO tool that does everything for us. So it analyzes and posts on LinkedIn. It follows all of the LinkedIn best practices in 2026. So if you look at a lot of the posts, you see things that are lead magnets where they say things like comment this comment, and we'll give you this lead magnet. It can build lead magnets and website web pages for us. It can put together email sequences. It can create posts. It can generate images to go with those posts. It will make sure that all the bold text is in the certain place, and it can actually post a LinkedIn for us. It can also create sales presentations, call scripts, and more. So this is like 9 or 10 things while running a company full-time, and also taking on some other client projects on the side, all done since January doing this. This is easily like 1,000x the productivity that I was last year. And I have more free time in my life than I've ever had before. So the amount of leverage that these tools give you is an absolute other level. And the reason I wanted to share this is so that people could really see what's possible when you embrace this and go all in on it. So that's my background. That's what we've been doing. Yeah. Yeah, I can do that. Hold on one second. Let me spin it up. I gotta find out where it is. Yes, I also, so my wife, let me spin it. Actually, hold on. What's the,
Yeah, I wonder if I take a photo of this.
yeah, take it.
Yes. I know, right? AI with film.
Give me 1 second, guys. I'm trying to pull up the test login. So I also built, shoot. Okay, let me see if I can spin this up. Yeah. Hold on. Do you want to turn on so everybody can hear? Do you want to put that on? Hold on. Okay.
How long did it usually take you to build a lead magnet?
Yeah, so if we wanted to build a lead magnet before, it literally would take like a ridiculous amount of time. Weeks. Because I would have to outsource it to someone, and they also wouldn't understand the vision or what I really wanted to do. So what's nice as a creative founder, I'm now able to execute my vision in a way that's much more cohesive, and it understands me. I had this one weekend where I was like, okay, I want to build some lead magnets. We built 15 lead magnets over a weekend of like all these different things. And there were ideas in there that I would have never thought of on my own.
And you could try ideas you never would try.
You could absolutely do that, which I mean,
Invest energy.
Yeah.
Now it's like,
yeah, now you could do whatever.
no matter. I can't really try.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so last year on LinkedIn, I had very few responses. I've since revived my LinkedIn. I have over 20,000 connections and followers now. I post on a regular cadence, and I've had lead magnets where 200 people have requested the lead magnet. Just insane. So it's been completely game changing from yeah, probably. So let me show you really quick. So my wife used to run our staffing recruiting services business with me. She's since gone out and created her own women's community called She Created. This is something that I've built for her. It's not fully live yet, but it is basically the future of coaching. So what we've done here is we've taken the idea of right now, when you're a coach, a lot of people go out and they're like, oh, I want to become a coach. I want to have more time. I want to be able to work from anywhere. I want to have all these clients. But the fact of the matter is a coach is actually quite limited. And the dream of more free time is actually, as a founder, one of the things that drives me the most crazy is when I look on my calendar in a day and all I have is meetings. It drives me crazy. I'm like, when can I actually do the fun, creative work that I want to do? And that's what happens with coaches. A coach is like, hey, I want to be free. And then they have a group coaching call on Tuesdays at 6 o'clock in the evening, and they travel to the other side of the world. And all of a sudden that call is like at 3 in the morning or whatever, right? Because that is a standing call that they have to be there for the people. They also have one-on-ones, and that makes them hit a capacity issue. Now, there are a lot of coaching AI platforms out there, but they don't hold you accountable, learn from you as you go, seed a database with a bunch of knowledge about the individual that knows their personality, their background, how they like to communicate, the best way to coach them, all of that stuff. So we built this for her, and obviously it's got the AI coach right in it that you can talk to, and it's got an 11 Labs API built voice clone of it. It sounds 100% exactly like her. So it's got all that. But the cool thing is that you build out this, you fill out your assessment. So she has a certain thing that she calls the FAB-C about where you're at in your life, talking about friends and family, adventure, business, career, spiritual, energy, and always be growing. And you take this assessment on a weekly basis, and it gives you a score. Now that score now is stored in the Ruvector database, and it knows how you're doing. So every single conversation, and you start to see over time what your scores are looking like, how they're improving, and the database knows all of this. So one thing that's really cool about this platform is if you're not doing your weekly check-in and being accountable with it, the coach can actually hold you accountable. You're going to ask them a question. Hey, how come I'm struggling with this situation in my business? And it might say to you, like, you're not even doing the work. You're not even checking in and doing your data on a weekly basis. Why are you asking me this question, right? So it's going to actually hold the individual accountable. We've gamified it. We've allowed it for them to put in all of their goals in here. So this is just an example. This person wants to climb around much more. I don't know if that's a thing that people want to do, but that's what we put in there. This is just an example. They have their creation score where they can see how they're doing on a weekly basis. That goes in here. They have their creation canvas that they're putting in. So these are all their goals and stuff that automatically gets seeded into the database and knows more about them. So when they're talking to the coach, they can do that. They have a cohort that they're going to be matched up with so that they can actually have pods and groups of people that are matched by personality types. So it knows like you're going to interact and get along good with this person. It puts that all together so that the groups start to become accountable for themselves, and they host their own meetings and they have their own thing that they do. It has a built-in community that they can talk to each other and post on here. And then they have all of her content, and her podcasts and stuff are in here. The coach can say, hey, based on your life situation right now, you should listen on the creation cycle, clarity over goals, part 2 on my podcast. So all of this is built in, and it creates a recurring revenue stream for this coach in a way that allows them to open up their life so they're not bound to how much time is in their calendar. They can actually have a much bigger impact. So this is something that I built for her, and I'm building for other coaches. And this has just been something that I've done on the side across all of those other projects that I've been working on while running a company. So again, this is the ability of what you can do with these tools with no background on this, just a little bit of like, hey, I'm going to figure this out. I always feel like I'm over my head. When I was at the Agentics Foundation event in Vermont, I was like, I'm by far the stupidest person in this room. I don't understand this at all. And these are still my results. So if I can figure this out with no background, I believe anybody can. And this is the ultimate leverage in life. So, yeah.
Quickly, I just have one question.
Yeah.
I'm finding it difficult to price AI software because the value of your professionalism, the speed at which these things can be created, it just seems sort of arbitrary, right? Like we can get these apps up so fast.
Yes.
What is the price?
So that's an interesting question because the question right now is what is the price point? How do you price this stuff? I think one of the things that's really easy to do is start to think, oh, because I can do it so fast. And this is something that we were discussing in Vermont. So, oh, because I can do it so fast, it shouldn't be that expensive. But the truth of the matter is, if you spent hundreds of hours learning how to do this, like this is cool and you can do stuff fast, but it's not easy to do. And essentially 90% of the work is the last 10% of getting the thing live and into production. So yeah, you can have a beautiful demo like that, but now I have to hook up the API, set up SSO through Google, all of that stuff. And that takes a long time because a lot of that work is actually manual. So I think the real key is, yes, there is an element of speed to this, but you've also invested a lot of time and value in learning how to do this, and you need to price it appropriately with that. And there's a balance there. So I think the inclination is to easily feel like, oh, this is so easy to do because I learned and I can do this fast, so it shouldn't be that expensive. But the truth of the matter is you're providing a tremendous amount of value to a customer, and you need to price it accordingly. So that's what I would say to you. Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. Thank you. Looking forward to the next one. Sorry.
Just turn it to the right. Yeah, we're good. Yeah, the value of your time. Yeah. 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 And I would say too, for anybody that wants to make kind of a income out of doing these things, there's tremendous value of being able to put together like a prototype relatively quickly and show people the value and what you actually created for them. Because most people's reaction when they see that is literally like, holy shit, that's wild. How do I get more of that? So when you're able to show somebody that, it almost sells itself. It's one of the easiest sales that exists. Yeah.
I've actually just been on the, pay me for my time in software.
Yeah.
I'll show you how to do this and you can maintain it yourself. And when you have trouble, come back to me.
Yeah.
And pay me for my time. And it's a much easier relationship. And if it's a bigger project, it's almost always based on what the perceived return on investment for the customer is going to be.
Yeah.
Like if I, what on the perceived return on investment? Paying for your time. You say just pay. No, for small. Where small businesses like trying to get people up to speed. Yep. I suggest doing this with small engagements just to like not get them tied up on anything. Like, look, give me $200 for my time. When you walk away, you're going to have more than a website here. We're going to spend a couple hours together. You're going to walk away with an agentic website that
Yeah.
you maintain, right? Like, and you'll come back to me and you'll want more work. But that's not my bread and butter. I'm only doing that to spread agentic, like, you know, be evangelical about it essentially, right? And the big clients, like, honestly, it's very difficult right now because they're struggling to understand it.
There's a lot of big companies that are struggling to understand it.
They're trying to put it back into seats. Because for them, it's like 40 seats at X company is how they calculate their profit. And so if they don't have that anymore, they have one guy that can put 40 guys seats, because that's the ratio now. Yep. Right? And maybe it's not 1 to 40, but it probably could be under the right circumstances, right? how are they supposed to make their money? An agency, because they get their margin off the top of every one of those 40 people. So it's a numbers game. They can't do that. There's actually the AI bubble's going to burst the AI company. It's going to burst the other company.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I see that so much. I talk about that all the time because if you think about it, like even in what I do, sometimes I'm talking to a company and they're like, oh, it's going to take 6 months to get a contract in place. And I'm literally thinking about it like we're a nimble boutique firm that can sign a contract and review a contract in 24 hours or less. And to think like it's a contract, it's two people looking at a piece of paper, maybe negotiating it a little bit, putting some red lines in there and taking a pen and signing it. And that's going to take 6 months. If that process takes 6 months, how are these companies going to survive on anything more complex?
Some of my bigger, where I might do something for $1,000 for a small, that exact same work, there's no way I would charge a large client. It's going to take them weeks to get that thing signed.
Yeah,
It's going to be at least 10 times.
yeah, yeah.
Exact same.
No,
It's crazy.
It's true. And it's their fault. And like, honestly, they can't survive in this economy. There's no way. Like, that's why I left UI in August. Yeah. Because I could see it from the inside.
Yeah.
They are going to collapse.
Yeah.
But like, it's not going to be the big four. I bet 2 of the 4 collapse over the next 18.
Yeah. It's wild.
Yeah, well, you know that there's some really interesting stuff that both Anthropic and OpenAI are doing both firms and PE vendors, and they're basically doing deals with them to try to help them to prop up their business to be circular. Like, but so much of this economy is circular.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Hardware and AI and all that. But they're doing that now, these major grants to them. Okay, so who else wants to?
Do you want to go back on your mic? So.
Okay. A couple more showcases. I'm not sure where Mac went. He's going to do one, but maybe you go next, Ofer.
Sure.
Okay, so another one of our ambassadors here, dear friend Ofer Shaal. Ofer is a longtime open source developer, which is really cool. So he's, unlike several of us that you've seen already, he came at this from the developer side and is doing some incredible things. So Ofer, it's floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm just trying to connect to this one. Is it living room?
Yes.
Okay.
Mark, I think you stopped sharing.
I'm gonna.
You're going to share into the Zoom. You're on the Zoom.
Yeah.
Cool.
Choose in or extend. Okay, here we go. So yeah, hi, I'm Ofer Shaal, decades of being a developer, open source advocate, been early on with AI and everything that happened, went through vibe code pretty quick and got into more and more serious usage of AI beyond copy paste, what ChatGPT would give you. And then I was able to find early on Cloudflow, who became Ruflo. Like, it was so obvious that that is the pioneer. That's where everything is happening before the rest of the world know. And which, by the way, I can't recommend enough. On Thursdays and Fridays, there's live streams of the Agentic Foundation and seeing what is happening, drinking directly from the hose. So within Ruflo, seeing the system, understanding what's possible, and what I love about it is beyond the ChatGPT, the use of Claude, all the main LLMs, is Reuven's way of figuring out ways that are not normal, not the usual way that the rest of the world is going. And as was spoken before here a lot, I was trying to figure out Ruvector, right? Like, how do you know someone is in Agentics? I think, they spend hours and hours figuring out Ruflo or Ruvector or both. So what do you do? How do you figure out Ruvector? You probably open Cloud Code and you're like, hey, there's this memory system. I want to create it. I want to see it. It was important for me to see, like, does it really work? What's going on? So with Cloud Code, there was a pie brain. I was like, let me crank up a demo.
Oh, share your screen to the Zoom.
Oh, I thought I am. I'm so sorry. Missed that one. Entire screen. Everybody can see it now. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is what, my first creation with, I wanted to understand pie brain that came out and what's going on. Okay, so I got like this beautiful graph that I've seen before, divided to section, and then I was able to, between a pie brain that is public, I told it to bring folk stories and understand the difference, and like there's a whole thing happening. As an open source advocate, this is open source, people can see it, but for me, it felt like it's
So
missing.
maybe explain pie brain. Now you're talking about pie brain. So I don't think you're the first person who's talked about pie brain today.
I don't think I understand pie brain enough to explain, because this was in my journey to actually learn Ruvector.
Yeah.
But my very small understanding of pie brain is that ability of having, I don't know if to call it democratized knowledge bases, and having different parts of knowledge bases where pie brain can be a public one. This is fetching information from a public knowledge base, but individuals can create local knowledge bases and it can all interact. I believe pie brain can even be, you can add knowledge to pie brain and you get scores and different things happen when you go there. But
Yeah.
I use pie brain just as a knowledge for me to learn Ruvector.
Let me add a little bit more to it. Do you guys know what, Matt, you know what pie brain is?
Yeah.
You know what, Danny, you know what pie brain is? Okay, so the way that I think about it is it's an instantiation of Ruvector. So Ruvector can run in very small spaces. It can run as a WASM on your web browser. It can run inside of that Cognitum device with less than a gig of RAM. Well, it's like half a gig of RAM. And the Cognitum seed. You got to run it on an ESP32. Yeah, it can run on really small.
You run 1,000 parameter model on it, just P32.
That's
It's
crazy.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
I want to talk to you after this. I have some ideas.
So pie brain is like the opposite extreme. It's like, let's have Ruvector run on Google Cloud hardware and let's fill it with all the data in the internet. And so Ruv set this up and he's using the common crawl to fill it. It takes time because it's so much data, but it's like 98% compressed from the original data.
How do you decide on your ontology, right? Like that, like your label.
Your knowledge base?
Yeah.
There's different thing back and forth with Cloud Code and asking it, what are the different categories? Because I wanted to understand how do I use
That's
Ruvector
it.
and the dimensions
Yeah.
to see it in different ways and find more connection that otherwise they wouldn't find. All that without using a real LLM that can read stories and I know it can do that. I wanted to know in this slim system, what it can give me and its ability to decipher knowledge and information.
Yeah.
So it's
So
like,
you're trying to learn about it is what this project is.
Yeah. So this
I don't know.
project, open source, filled with a lot of question mark where you can pop up, you can see like what's happening. You can turn on LE15, which is a thing I like. It's explained like I'm 15. Anytime that something is it's very technical, LE15 gives you like a beautiful explanation that is so nice to understand. But for me, this was not enough. It's still like, okay, great colors. I've seen this a lot in Agentic Foundation, like blobs of things, but like, I want to see that it works. I want to see that it learned, that I can ask it questions or see something of involvement. One of the things from my past that you probably don't know is in my past, I'm an F-16 flight simulator developer. So
Cool.
I'm into games. And I was like, I got to find a way,
Like
bring-
real F-16 or games.
a real,
Whoa.
yeah.
Cool.
Before there was AI. So we had to work a lot. So I wanted to gamify it because I think through games we can learn so much. And, took Claude Code and back and forth and came up with this cool project. So so if the original thing is called Ruvector, my project is called Vector, also open source. You can play with it if you go to vv.shaal.dev. And I'll tell you what you see here, because I didn't invest so much in graphics yet. But what you're seeing here is a racetrack where the start is very clear. 1, 2, 3, 4 are the checkpoints around. It's a square racetrack. As I mentioned before, LE15 is my favorite. I can't recommend enough. If you want to learn Ruvector, open vv.shaal.dev, click explain everything. What you would get is a whole explanation, like a mini Wikipedia of everything you need to know about what's here. And I think because I'm using Zoom, some parts here are hidden, but you can go to different chapters and everything. The rest of the interface is filled with these kind of question marks that are pop up that tells you what is happening. You have a guided tour. But let me show you what it does and why I got excited with it. So when you start and you first load it, you will see some things happening and moving. One of the things you see are these 5 yellow rays. The first car in the racetrack has sensors. The sensors show it if there's wall, what's going on. Among that car, we have other cars. As you can see right now, there's 10 cars. That's this number here. How many cars are running? They're running for 15 seconds each time. So what you're seeing here, which is a little slow, all they do is like run into the wall. Not so smart. But all this is AI running in your browser. It's not connecting to anything external. As was mentioned here, these are
By AI, this is just Ruvector. This is not an LLM.
Right. That's what we're saying. It's AI using Ruvector. Does not touch any of the known ChatGPT, Claude, Opus, all these. But what you will see here, that every iteration, what it really does in the back, and you can see in the tour and explanation, it gets a little smarter. There's 10 cars right now, so let's add some more. Why not having 500 cars? So when this gets to 15, we'll see 500 cars. For graphics purposes, you'll see them as dots if they're like beyond 50. And you see now the first car with the yellow rays reached farther than anything else. And look at this car, all of a sudden figure out a way.
Oh.
Every 15 seconds, it will try again. And what it does is it sees who's the car that figured it out the best. And the new 500 cars that are generated are all based on the brain of the previous best car. So you see they do things that for us don't make sense, but it's a system that learns. So we have a grind mode here if we want to make things a little faster, because we have the ability to, I don't need to wait for it. But you'll see that the yellow thing is start getting better and better until it start actually completing full circles. We'll get it back to number 1. Every 15 seconds, that's what's happening. 500 cars are going. They're all based on the best car from last time. The front car would always have the race displayed. All of them have race. It's just for make it nicer. But you see that now it starts showing you what's the fastest lap, right? It's 10 seconds. And if we let it go a little more, sometimes by giving it a little more time to figure it out, the laps would become better and better and better.
This is brilliant.
And not only that, if you know WASD, this is how you move in most of the games, right? You have a blue car right there here in the start. So you can try yourself that's me driving now, to try, and trust me, this is not simple, not easy, because
But you did better than the first couple thousand.
Because there's also, you can choose the friction, and it's slippery, so it's not easy to drive. And the car is just becoming better and better. Now, everything that happened here is trying to utilize a lot. It's definitely an over-engineered Ruvector implementation. You'll get a lot of statistics of what's happening with them, the performance of the graphics. But as you go down here, you have the ability to choose, I want them to have less randomization and more go in a tight group. So in the next time that it will go back, which is right now, you'll see them doing more, going more as a group and less all over the place. And you scroll more, you could actually turn off the vector memory and you can see what happened then. You can have a compare A/B. You can see this is no brain at the bottom, just same old. You're just going and trying stuff, but never completing a track. Where the top one is now getting better and better, right? I don't know if we might, yeah, 8.9, 8.6, it was the best. So it keep getting better and the brain keep being modified based on that. Now I'm using here the CNN, the GNN, the LoRa, the Sona, the whatever I could find from Ruvector. You can find an implementation and do A/B toggle to understand how does it help one versus the other.
For this, what dimension are you using? And so you're using Euclidean. Have you tried, is it better with hyperbolic or Euclidean?
I think it's one of the things you can choose here. You have the Euclidean and the hyperbolic. So you can choose and see which one works. I can't recommend enough. Click on explain anything and read the document. It's simple to understand. You don't need to be technical at all. Now, once I train it like this, I can save the brain. You would expect a 2K, 3K file. I can give it to Stu now. And instead of learning from scratch, now you benefit from Ruvector that's already trained.
That's exact. That's.
But wait, there's more. I mean, there's many more. There's much more. You can do custom track, right? You can choose different kind of shapes.
You've got Monaco on there. You're a good man.
And now, now you will see that the brain now have some difficulty. It got used to a square track, and all of a sudden this one is a little bit different. Or the deadliest one I have here, the AI is still having a hard time with, is triangle. Because with triangle, it's like, a lot of them dying on the way, but it's a really cool thing.
That's
Let's
tight.
do, just turn off the AP so you can see it a little bigger. Yeah, but the triangle is very, you can see, again, use WASD and you'll see how difficult this is. So narrow. Like, I practice a lot, so that's why I'm so good. Yeah, it's tough. So it's interesting to see what are the things you can do. And within the brain, it start recognize track shapes. So if I give it a track, and you can also even draw your own tracks here, that have an S shape within it, and another track, it will understand the S shape. And if there was a previous one that had an S shape within it, it will take the learning from that one. So as you learn not just how not to get into wall, it understand like part of this, I think it's the GNN, CNN, one of these modes that helps search previous memories and understand why should it use, instead of scan all of them and figure out, it understands the shapes and which one to pick from them. So still working to figure out the best ways to solve triangle, because that has been a deadly track for all my cars here. But for me, that has been a tremendous way to understand so many of the concepts of Ruvector, seeing it improving in front of my eye, and while having, you know, if I forgot what this is, oh, that's what the reasoning bank is doing. So you can just click on it, read the full chapter, understand more of like, why is it like that? What is it related? So I can recommend enough to, if you click GitHub here, it'll open for you the open source itself, where you can see the code, come up with suggestion improvements. Some of my thoughts are to create some kind of a strategy in a driver type to see what's happening if a driver is more careful versus a careless driver. What happens if the strategy is to do it the fastest or to cut corners, to try different things and have in front of us experiments that showing us which one is getting better and better, which one is worse that we should leave aside. So
what have you learned about Ruvector through using this that you didn't realize you would learn?
Well, few things. So there are many concepts within Ruvector, like Sona, CNN, GNN, hyperbolic, all the dimensions. So with the help here, I was able to understand, because that's what, it's not that I understood it and coded it. Like you mentioned before, Claude Code is my interpreter from English to math.
Right.
So Claude Code understands Ruvector better than I am. But now that I have this visualization with explanation, now within this interface, I get all these explanation of what Ruvector does and how does it do it. I was able to see through this that Ruvector works, right? I could see in front of it. Again, we still have issues with the triangle one. We'll give it a little one better.
Well, if you gave it a lot more, if you cranked up, would it figure out the triangle?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like I can give it 2,000 cars, I can ask it to go 100 times faster,
Yeah.
and it will be a much, we don't have to wait in real time.
Is it saving I saw you started over fresh this time, but is it actually saving the training?
Everything, all the brains are being saved. There's also a whole log here, there's a dynamic here. You can see here how many times it went through that track. By the way, as I've seen from Ruve as well, everything is.
Fly brain into it yet?
What?
Did you plug his fly brain that he made into it yet?
The pie brain?
Fly.
No, not yet.
What is Flybrain?
He like came up with this like stimulator for like different types of insect brains and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But that would be cool. Like I could change the 5 rays that it's using now and telling it,
Yeah, give it like
use that one.
Ulthropic
Yeah.
eye or whatever.
Can it do prediction? After it trained, like it learned so much?
Maybe.
It
I
is
didn't try it,
pretty
but it's possible that. So everything, if you open DevTools and application, you can see everything is being saved here. You can save the brain as a file.
So if you gave it like a real map and you monitored real daily traffic and you ran this, maybe it could predict accidents or common
Yeah.
points for accidents to avoid, so people could like civil engineers can like map it or something. Or
Absolutely,
re-engineer it.
that's a good idea, yeah. I mean, here you can see just visually where the dots are kind of stuck for some reason, right? It's like there's a problem with the speed they go, with the slipperage that there is, and the turn. So that might be a good way to look at, So this can be taken to many different ways, and what we can do with it. Do we do predict? Once we learn, we have a brain that knows so much, can I show it trapezoid track and already understand from it how safe it is or how fast it think it might be?
Yeah, like if somebody was planning on building like a new neighborhood or some new infrastructure and they had this tool that they could kind of draw ahead of time and they could kind of see what would happen if they actually, implemented that specific design, that would help them, a lot better.
Yeah.
Make these a lot safer.
Yeah. Also thinking maybe to do multiplayer. So if we join at the same time to the website, we can try racing, but it's cool. I can recommend, like, to me, this is the easiest way to understand Ruvector. Go here, click explain anything, and you will learn so many parts of Ruvector and how would it apply to your real projects where you want to bring it and apply to businesses. And when should you use Sona? When does CNN make sense? Like all the parts that make Ruvector great are being shown here visually in front of your eyes and make it much easier to understand.
Yeah, this is
That's brilliant.
It is.
like such a cool demonstration of the self-learning.
It shows the self-learning better than anything I've seen so far. Yeah, like it's just so easy to see the progress it's making.
Yeah,
And the fact that you can transfer the progress.
right.
Which so a lot of people is the question they have. Like it's easy to show them that I can do that, but they're having trouble believing that this is repeatable. Like it looks like snake oil to a lot of people.
It does,
Yeah. And here you can practice it, right? You can export a brain. I think it's somewhere at the bottom there. Open a new browser, you'll see that it's crashing the wall. Load the brain, and all of a sudden, it's as smart as the latest training you did.
Yeah.
I think in one computer, by mistake, I left it overnight and it got to like 7 seconds. Like, it's getting better. It try randomization, it trying different things. So it doesn't try to be smart. It's just trying to find what worked. And also, I think half of the cars are trying something different a little bit, and half of them trying a lot different.
Oh, that's interesting. So you're not doing any sort of coherent, like thinking about what to do.
Right. That's why every time you'll start it, you'll see they all go straight into the wall. Like, no.
That's what you probably want to add to it is that like Because
If
although
you
this
added
is
any
learning,
aspect of a strategy,
this
yeah.
is like the most non-optimal way of learning.
Right.
It's like the way that I teach my kids that they should not learn this way, but there's always the option to learn this way.
Yeah. And that's where my thought of creating a driver type and a strategy,
Yeah,
it's possible that if it's a careful driver, it wouldn't drive to the wall.
Yeah, it should.
Because we'll go search if it has enough time
Yeah.
to see that.
And
it
then
can
the
drive.
other drivers can learn from them, essentially.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
they'll get better at that. And then the crazier drivers will be like, no, I can like drift around this corner.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but the way he did it, I think helps people understand how this thing works, how it grows, how it learns.
No doubt.
How it adapts, I guess is the real thing. Because you give it 10 minutes and it's smarter than credit, right? Or whoever the current guy is that's winning already. It's a great concept, great tool. What
That's
do you
actually
want to
great
do with it?
For the F1 team or something, you know, they have sensors and all kinds of stuff and cameras like at every like microsecond of the lap, and they measure all that stuff and send it to like a data center to process it. You know,
Yeah.
almost in real time for all these races. This would be pretty good too. Like they could use this before they go on the track to try to come up with almost like a map of what the driver needs to do.
Yeah.
And based off of other races and the other cars that were there at the same time.
The F1 team is welcome to contact me.
We gotta get
I'll be happy to support.
Who knows somebody at Oracle?
So I've gotten my triangle to the point, but it can't seem to get that really tight curve.
Yeah, it needs a lot. I mean, try it yourself with WASD and you'll see it's really difficult
Yeah,
because
yeah.
also because it's slippery. You can also customize the track and decide how slippery it's gonna be.
Yeah,
I
it
forgot
was
how
just
many
slippery,
parts
probably.
are, where was it? In here.
That's awesome.
It is awesome.
All right.
Invincible. Yeah.
Hey, Mac, get over here.
You know, this is Florida. You ought to put some trailers on these things too.
Who's next?
Mac's next.
Now I feel bad. I should have prepared my stuff.
Mac, are you
I
there?
thought this was gonna go on. I thought we're just gonna.
Yeah, tell him he's on.
I didn't use Ruvector for my project.
Someone's
I
asking on the chat, sorry if I missed it, but what hardware are you running the demo on? And how big does the database get with all tests you ran during the demo? So any simple computer, it's a browser, it doesn't need anything special to run. Try it, it's vv.shaal.dev. When you export a
The
brain,
Ruvector is running on your browser.
yeah,
This one.
that's what I'm
Wow.
saying. It's a WASM package that's being loaded, and you can see it's open source. You see what happened there. It's logging in the browser. It's not even the terminal or something special running. And when you export the brain, it's about 2 or 3K after you did thousands of laps.
On my Web OS site that I'm doing this whole like ephemeral OS thing. I've shown on the weekly call. And I'll do it the next time we do a meeting here. I'll show it, but on that
Stuart
I
told me
have
a
a
little bit.
Ruvector running that like literally does training of different models in
Yeah.
different ways because I wanted to show you know, exponent minus logarithm, like using that in some places versus like the normal math.
Yeah.
It was really good for my my posts count on LinkedIn. Like it went viral, like posting about this stuff. So it's a good thing to do. But it turned out to like just be an experiment to show that it didn't work. But the cool part is it's Ruvector running in the browser, training a transformer pipeline, essentially in different sizes. And you can change the sizes and everything. You can actually see it like where it's like if it's really small, this EML math works out great. But once you get to a certain size, it like drops off, and it's not worth doing. Which
cool.
I mean, it's very. This is just so cool. Yeah, Ofer guy in this EML thing at the same time as me.
Yeah.
We were both like making commits back to Ruvector.
I'm not that much into that.
But Me it's like
that's only a Ruvector thing. There must be a way.
I keep finding things that it's useful for.
Yeah.
Honestly, I got so much grief for the posts, which is great for a technical post.
Grief for it.
Because I was cosplaying a mathematician. I was like, that is like the nerdiest insult I've ever had thrown at me that I'm actually like proud of.
Yeah.
Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like cosplaying a mathematician. I admit, I don't have a applied discrete mathematics degree, right? Like, I didn't come from.
You act like it.
I don't.
You-
like,
you think like
I like literally dropped out of high school because I couldn't get along, right? Like, I was good with computers, don't get me wrong. It took me years to figure out how to get along with people.
You know, a few days after, saw a tweet or something about Miller Robin algorithm. I don't know if you heard about it. But apparently it's a really quick way to find if a number is prime. So yet again, I'm like, if there's a prime number, a faster way to find it, must be Rubik.
Yeah.
I made a PR, got in, and it's just like amazing to be able to help those refined ideas.
Yeah.
Cloud Code help actually make them possible,
Yeah.
and it becomes something the rest of Ruvector community
Yeah.
can use.
Yeah. And it's so fast.
You should make a video of that, because when you sent it out, I wasn't quite sure what to do with it, but watching you use it for 5 minutes, it becomes infinitely more knowledgeable.
Okay.
So just create a loop or a loom, whatever it is, right?
Okay, so we go back to sharing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna make money today. All right.
Yeah, this is a little diagram of, what I've got going on.
Did you introduce?
So
Oh.
right now.
Yeah,
I have- Do you have your
Your audio?
audio on?
The mic.
Oh, you on?
Yeah, you have to be on Zoom.
Oh, I'm on.
Yeah.
Okay, so you gotta join the Zoom.
Yeah, here it is.
So while you join the Zoom, it's in the WhatsApp. Okay, so this is again, let me see, I'll say it on Zoom. I gotta go to my, where the heck is it? Am I still on the Zoom? Let's see. Window Zoom meeting. Okay. So I am going to introduce our next speaker here, who is my son, Mac Allen. And Mac's also my business partner. And and I started learning, let's see, Claude Flow, now Ruflo at about the same time. And have introduced it to all of our friends, as many as we can, who are willing, and we teach on this, and we do a lot of projects for others, and we do some projects for ourselves. So this is a project that we're doing for ourselves, trying to use Ruvector to print money for us. So the concept here is, you know, do we think that we can get an information arbitrage opportunity with AI, that AI can process more information than most people faster? Without question, right? There's not even a question. Can automation, not even AI, can automation execute trades faster and with less error than humans? Without a question. So when you combine those things together, can we get an edge in markets? Well, that requires a lot of discipline, a lot of figuring it out. And we have gotten some really clear edges in paper trading so far. We're just beginning to test live trading, which is a whole different ball of wax, like lots of different things. But Mac's going to share what we've been working on building in this area. And it's, again, based on Ruvector. There's a project that Ruv started that is called Neural Trader. It's part of Ruvector itself in that repo. And it's kind of primitive compared to other things. Like there's a lot that you have to do to make it work. But that's basically what this project is. So with that, go in there.
All right, so this is my Polymarket US paper trading system. So we have a paper book filled with about 16 to 20 strategies, trading with about $500 to $1,000 each. And the performance of all of them is visible right here. And you can see what sport each strategy is specifically trading on. So I'm leveraging Ruvector's Sona, self-optimizing neural architecture, to continuously enhance how trading sizing is being handled. And that ties into confidence and how our learning system interprets each trade based on the edges that it's perceiving for each possible trade. So at a certain point, so there's criteria that I have set up to help me decide whether a paper trade strategy has collected sufficient enough data points and hit certain checkpoints to be eligible to proceed to being promoted to live trading. Right now, we don't have anything in live trading. We will in probably the next 24 hours. We do have 2 strategies we are very likely to promote in the next 24 hours. We could do it today, but we made some bug fixes, so we'd like to let the data soak for an additional 24 hours. Most of the wins have been concentrated between the MLB, the NBA, and UFC.
Is there a reason why?
Between NBA, MLB, and UFC. NBA, I got lucky, to be honest with you. I found an LLM that worked well for trading, and it just happened to become my #1 strategy overnight. MLB prior to that was my #1, and that was a strategy that I created entirely myself with the help of Claude Code, of course. And that runs entirely mathematical, not with any involvement of an LLM. So it's very nice for scalping opportunities. You don't have the latency of an LLM to deal with.
So on that, Ruben said this several things. AI is the closer it is time, the more predictive power it has. So in other words, it can't tell you who's going to win the game, but it can tell you what's going to happen to price much greater. So when you're trading, if you trade to what's a resolution that game, some trades will buy you to that, but you're not going to get any compared to the lot. And then you would, it's called scalping. Trading. The exact same sports bet. Yankees versus the Red Sox. Some markets allow you to scalp some bet. Some markets allow you to trade automatically. Yeah, some don't. Some allow you to a certain number of API calls per minute. So a lot of it is figuring out how this works, and it's changing so fast. If these guys are upgrading, they're changing their APIs, upgrading their APIs. They do want to allow people to do this sort of stuff. It's kind of fascinating. You actually look at these markets. Dominant nonprofits is made by small.
These green dots also show you so I have certain strategies that work with LLMs, and I have certain strategies that use what I call mathematical agents. That are not agents tied to an LLM, but I think of them more so as filters of metrics. And so this shows you the number of mathematical agents that voted on each trade. So that's something that my self-optimizing neural architecture is constantly keeping record of.
So what is the 11.1% on Minnesota versus Cleveland?
11, where do you see
right there, 11.1%. And what does
oh, that's the edge